Hey guys, before you start watching this video, I just wanted to say I tried doing something a little bit different with the recording this time, so if the audio sounds different, that's why. So if it's annoying, I apologize, but other than that, please enjoy the video. Okay, this should be good. I hope it's good, because I've already filmed this video once before, and it didn't work out because I just ended up rambling. So if I'm not an expert at doing this video now, well, I'm going to be upset and I just won't do it in the first place. Howdy folks, my name's Ty, and today we're going to be doing the GarageBand for iOS tutorial. Now I promised this in a video that I did, when was that? It was a few weeks ago now, the video talking about all the best doors for iOS, and I said I'd be doing tutorials on each of the apps that I mentioned in that video. So this is the first of that series. We're going to be talking about GarageBand. Every iOS user can get this for free. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, well, you're set with this app. So what we're going to be doing is I'm just going to be running through very basic stuff with you guys just quickly, just so you know what you're doing, how to get started. So let's create a new song. Okay, so this is the main page that you're going to see. This is your session window. So you're going to see a little timeline at the top with all the bars. So at the moment you have 8 bars at the very top. Then you will notice you have a number of other different things. Now if you've used any music production software or any other doors on any computers or anything, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's very similar to those. But if you haven't, if this is your first time using a digital audio workstation, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to run through. So very left corner is what looks like a page being folded. So that is the button that you press for going back to all your files. The next button across that is a square with 2 smaller squares next to it. That is the button that you press to go to different instruments, to choose your instruments. The next button along has a keyboard on it. That is because I came into the session window through the keyboard thing, so I pressed where that keyboard button is. That is where the session window button is. That's how you get to this window, but by pressing that I go back to the keyboard. Then the next one along is all your finicky knobs and stuff, so you can use this to edit panning and volume and compression, a little bit of EQing, track settings, quantization. If you don't know what quantization is, basically if you play a song, like if I was to play on the keyboard right now, so I'm going to show you. So quantization, basically, so we have our tempo. One should be at 110. Yep. 2, 3, 4. If I was absolutely awful at playing on time, so let's do a simple recording. 2, 4. So if I couldn't play on the beat and I was struggling, I mean, it's good to do this even if you're really good at playing on the beat, just to make sure that it's exactly precise on the beat. Quantization, what that does, you go back to quantization, it has none on it, so it's going to sound offbeat. But if you quantize it, depending on what type of song you're doing, whether it's swing, triple, or straight, I'm just going to go straight for now. Let's go 1/16th note. Basically what this is going to do is this is going to make all your notes on the beat. This is going to make sure that this sounds good with the rest of your track. So if we listen to it now, so now it's on beat. Now it sounds on beat. So that's something that helps you to get all the stuff in the right place, make sure it sounds good. You can do that for all of your whether it be drums, guitar, all your instruments. You can do that for other track settings. Transposition, you can change what key it's in or what the notes are playing. Then there's recording. There's other. I never use these settings, to be completely honest. You can live without them, but you can take a read of it. So it just talks about like multi-track recording. I never do multi-track recording personally. I just do a single track record. If you decide to do multi-track recording, that's cool. This is probably going to be a setting for you then, but for the sake of this video I'm going to skim over it. The next button that we have up the top is effects. So you can use this. If we go back and play this, you can use this to add effects. You can use that to add any effects you want onto the session if you want to make it sound cool. And for those who do a lot of music programming, less acoustic or live recordings, that's pretty good. And even if you do more acoustic stuff, if you want to add some cool effects onto it, that's cool too. You can use that. Then the next button, the little arrow, self-explanatory. It's the undo button. So if you do something that you didn't want to do and you regret your life choices, that's a great button. That is your best friend sometimes, and especially if you accidentally delete a whole line that you've just recorded, it makes you feel happy when you can just press it back. Okay, so the next button is the next button looks like a backwards arrow, like sort of looks like a rewind button. Press that, takes you back to the beginning of your timeline. Next button is a play button, so I don't need to explain that. Next button, the big red circle, that's the record button. So if you want to record anything, you press that and it records. The next one is the volume. This is your overall volume for basically your iPad volume. Like for me, this that's your device volume essentially. So it's not, don't mistake it for a master track, because that'll literally not affect any of your sessions. It'll just turn your headphone volume down for you. The next thing across there, the thing that's highlighted in blue, is the metronome. If it's highlighted blue, the metronome's on. If it's not highlighted blue, it's just grey. That means it's off. When you press play, you're not going to hear the metronome going. But if it's on blue, you'll hear it. The loops. These are all the loops. You can find Apple's loops in their sound library, and then you can just pick one, drag it in, and it's right here. Okay, so you can just drag and drop them in, and you can also use your own files that you have on your Files app on your iPad, and you can put any of those into your session. Next one is settings. So metronome count in, you can choose whether to count in or not. You can choose what type of metronome it is, like what sound it makes, and then the audio level of the metronome. Tempo, how fast or slow the song is. Time signature, the notes in each bar, basic sort of music stuff. Key, fade out, which I haven't used yet, to be honest, but I forget it's there half the time, so that is actually pretty useful, to be honest with you. The notepad as well, this is really handy because you can literally just type, if you have notes for lyrics and things like that, you can just have it there, and you can just start typing, hello YouTube, I'm doing a video. So you can do jam session. This is really cool. I haven't gotten the chance to use this yet, but I think this is sick. This is really cool for collaboration. Then you have all of this. Now, personally, the Restore Purchases button, I haven't really played around enough to see things to buy in this app, because I always just assumed everything was free. So if someone finds the things that you could buy in the app, I'm just stupid. I probably have combed over. I've probably seen it and not noticed that you have to pay for certain things, but please let me know. It's probably in the advanced settings, where if I go to turn them on, it's like you have to pay this much money to get this. So let me know if you find anything that needs buying in this app. Then if you're confused, you got a help button. So basically this help button renders this video useless. And then you have the plus at the end of the 8th bar. This plus will show you your section A. You can add as many sections as you want. And then what you can do is you can select your duration of the amount of bars you want, or you can just go automatic. And that's usually what I do, because it doesn't confine you to a certain amount of bars to record to. You can just keep recording, and as soon as you're done with that section, you can just add a new section, and it will save that section as however many bars that you recorded. I never usually use the A and B sections, but that's just me, because usually I'm just like, okay, I'm going to record the whole song as this many bars and do this. So yeah, there's a lot more that GarageBand can do on the iPad that a lot of people don't realize, but it's here, and I don't use everything per se, but everything is here for different people to use if that's something that you prefer to use, and it's always very handy just to have this extra stuff, even if people don't prefer using it. It's better to have more on a music production app than less, just in case. Alright, give me a second. It's dead. Oh my. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go out into the instrument view. We're going to run through quickly all the instruments. Keyboard. Let's start off the keyboard. This is the one I use the most. If you've seen a keyboard before, you'll know what most of this stuff is. If you haven't, well, keyboard, you play instruments through it. it's pretty easy. You just press for different notes and different chords and stuff like that. Going over from the left side of the screen again, you got the pitch. You play a note, you can change the pitch of it to make it sound funny. Modulation changes the sound of it. Then you have, alright, I'm just going to stop my past self right there because for some reason I decided to skip over the velocity slider. Basically what this does is when you're playing the keyboard, if you alter the velocity slider, if you turn it down or turn it up, it alters the harshness of the sound that comes out of the keys. If you're slamming the keys down, it will be more harsh or less harsh depending on where you have it on that slider. All of these little fancy things, so these are like presets for all the dials and knobs over here. Change this. So they change all of the different sounds of it because it affects all of these little special things over here. So these are all the knobs for all the different settings that you can do. This is something that you really need to play around with because of the fact that everything is like personal. When you're doing a song, you know what sound you want generally, or you're trying to find what sound you want, so play with these. Go down to the keyboard now. From the left we have the octaves. So F, F, F. It just goes, you know, down the octave and vice versa. And that basically gets inaudible as higher it goes. Then you got the latch, which it's called latch on this synthesizer, but also if you go to the piano keyboards, it would be called sustain. And you can lock that in to sustain the note if you don't have a MIDI pedal for sustaining, or if you don't want to keep your hands on the screen. This little next button here, you can tilt your iPad or phone to change the sound as you're playing. Then there's the glissando, which is basically the way that the keyboard is laid out. It's just on this one octave, and then you have to press the octave buttons to go higher or lower. But if you go to scroll, you can scroll up the keyboard to get to the different octaves, and then pitch. So you don't, it sort of gives you this little blue ball that you can drag up, and it'll just change the pitch for you. It's basically replacing the pitch slider up here. Then you have scales. If you don't know how to play piano, these help you out a lot. So let's go minor pentatonic scale. So it'll give you all the notes for that scale. It'll take all the other notes out, so it helps you out with when playing the right notes when you're trying to play a song in a specific key. And you can do this with a bunch of other scales as well. So this other button, there's a lot of other settings you can do, like if you want to have two keyboards on one. So if you want to have so if you want to be able to play two-handed, as awkward as that may be on an iPad, you can. Then you can make the keys smaller so you can have more notes in. Then you have this thingamajig, which is already on, but it's basically just like sort of a run. So hear how it's running up and down with the different notes that are, you know what I mean, it's running through the notes. And then there's this, so this is almost like smart chords. So smart chords, I'm going to show you this on the piano. We're back here, so this is where all the smart chords are. If you don't want to put all your fingers down and scared of messing up during the song, and you just want to play the chords easily with one finger, you can do that here. What I don't like is the chord selection. There isn't a better chord selection. There's not a customizable chord selection. It's just the ones that they give you. Whatever will work with that. It's here if you want to use it, and also you can do autoplay. So it autoplays a specific tune for you. So that's basically the keyboards. Drums, a little bit different. So this is the beat sequencer. Let's give it all. So you can make funky beats like this. It's pretty cool. You can play around with that. There's a lot of different types of drums that you can put into it. Then there's like classic drum pad. You can use this. There's a number of dials that you can change the settings, the sound of it, depending on how you want to almost EQ it. And then you have, you have all the selection of electric, percussion, and acoustic drums. This is a more traditional drum. This doesn't really have any effects on it, but yeah, those are the main two sets of drums that you can get. You can also get smart drums. This is just basically like that auto play for the keyboard. So you can program drums to play by themselves, which is pretty cool. We are living in the age of technology where technology can run itself. Then you can plug in, use this as an amp for recording, like a DI or a direct input. You can plug in your bass or guitar or whatever you can plug into it. You can plug it in through here and record through there. You can use a microphone like I'm using right now. So you can put different effects on it. So normal vocals, you have lead vocals, which has, you can hear the sound in my voice. This is the lead vocal, adds ambience. You have radio ready. You also have a number of different things. Punchy presence. It just edits the sound of what you're saying or hearing. Basically, that's just the, you can add all sorts of different mic sounds and stuff onto your external microphone. This is what I use all the time. Then you have, strings and bass and guitar. Let's just go into guitar quickly. It's very different. You have a guitar that has all the chords. Again, it's the same chords as what it was on the keyboard. So you can use this. You can use this as just a normal fretboard. It has the same scales that'll help you, and just put the notes on there that play for those keys and scales. Chords, autoplay again. Different pedals, which is cool. I don't like using guitars or bass guitars with the fretboard without the keyboard on the iPad, and even then I don't like how a lot of the guitars sound on GarageBand here. So if I was going to record a guitar, it would be external, or I'd use a loop. But it's still here. It's here to use, and once you get the hang of it, it's cool to use as well. We also have a smart drummer, which is really cool. You can program a guy who plays a certain drum style. So we got pop rock here. Play him. He's playing along. So he's playing along. You can change what drums or what cymbals he's playing. There's a lot of settings that you can play with, and a lot of different drummers that you can play with as well. It's cool for someone who doesn't want to actually be hitting the drum pads or playing the drums themselves on the iPad, when you just want the computer to play it for you. Then you can have external devices, like you can connect MIDI devices and mixers and stuff like that, audio interfaces. You can plug all of those into your iPad to use on GarageBand. Let's quickly go to live loops. So there's a whole sound library of all these different live loop things here that you can download. They're all free. All of those are free. But then you have all of these sessions that have already been laid out for you. So let's go R&B. So this is already laid out. You just press at the bottom. So they have all the loops. So they have all the loops there. You can play them, play around with them, customize where they go and everything. And it's basically, so you can play around with them that way. You can make a song. I made my first song with loops, but I did it. I customized it for myself. So if you go out, go new, what you can do is you can go loops. You can find the loops that you want. Shuffle drum set. Just pop that in here. Pop as many other loops in these other areas as you want. And play them in there, and then you can also incorporate that into another song, recording vocals over it and all sorts of stuff like that, which is really cool. Makes things pretty easy. If you don't want to actually play your own instruments, you can find and customize all the loops together to make it your own, because there's so many combinations you can make, right? So that was just a basic overview of what you can do in it in GarageBand. If you want a more in-depth review of all the specific things of GarageBand, let me know, because I'm happy to do that. But this was a more in-depth overview than what I did in my other video. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you an actual session, but I'm going to show you what you can do on GarageBand by opening one of my other sessions. Okay, so this is my session that I was working on a couple days ago. Now you're going to get a little bit of a sneak peek to a new song I have coming out. Here is a session that I just did in GarageBand. I haven't used any other app. It's amazing what you can do. So let's just... So everything here I just used stock. I didn't really put too many effects. I just did stock GarageBand sounds. So all of this can be done in GarageBand. It's amazing what you can do, amazing how much you can have in it. It's pretty cool. I love GarageBand. This is the thing that I use the most. I use this alongside other apps, that's for sure, as you've seen in other videos of mine, but there's so much you can do with this. Just basically playing around with it and exploring it for yourself is the best way to learn what you're doing and to learn how to use it properly, because I think it's trial and error. That's the best way to learn. But hopefully this was informative, guys. If it was, let me know. If you want more of GarageBand, let me know, and I will be trying to do more tutorials on the other apps that I mentioned in the video that is in the description, or probably somewhere around here above me. Hopefully you guys can have a little bit of an idea of what you're doing with it now once you go and use it, and yeah, hopefully you can have some success with it. Where are those in-app purchases? What is this?